Hey everybody, I'm going to try to recreate exactly what we did in class. I'm going to walk back through everything for those of you who had to leave early or weren't able to be in class, or just for the rest of you to reference. If I miss anything or I don't explain it as well as I did in class, or if I do something and I don't explain it, I am liable to use keyboard shortcuts. Just reach out to me if you have a question and I'll be happy to explain anything further. So I've opened the template Revit file that I uploaded to Canvas. I'll have to upload a second version that's going to be, this is Revit 2022. I'll have to upload a version that's Revit 2019. So those of you with older versions of Revit are able to open it. It'll be exactly the same. So if you are able to open 2022, just stick with that one. Don't worry about having to switch to an older one. They'll be exactly the same other than the version. So the first thing we're going to do when Revit opens, well, here, I've opened my template. The template should be blank. You shouldn't see anything here. The only reason I'm supplying you with a template is that it has a couple of things loaded into it that we will be using later. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the PDF that's also on Canvas. If you go to files, you'll download that PDF. If you have an older version of Revit, you will have to use the JPEG version, and you will, if you have the PDF, you'll go to import PDF. If you have the JPEG, you're going to have to go to import image. It'll work exactly the same. Just depends on which version of Revit you have, if it lets you use the PDF or not. So I'm going to import that file. When you import, it's going to be huge. The traditional size of a sheet that is on an architectural set is this Arc E1, and that's 30 inches by 42 inches, which is pretty big. When you insert this PDF that I've supplied you with, if it gives you the option, it does, at least for PDF, I'm not sure if it will for JPEG, choose a higher DPI. DPI is dots per inch. That's the resolution, especially since this thing is gigantic. We want to be able to zoom in and see detail. If you choose the default, which is 72, it's going to be really blurry and grainy, and you might have a hard time reading the dimensions that are on the PDF. So when you import, choose somewhere around 300 is usually pretty good. You don't want to go too high. If you go to like 600, it's probably going to make your file run slow because that's a giant file, 600. So go 300 and open. It's going to load. And then this is like asking me, where do you want to place it? So I'm just going to place it here, roughly in the middle. There it is. Okay. This is just showing us this is where our image lives on level 1. I am going to go ahead and pin it. You see the little pin symbol up here, it looks like a thumbtack. It works exactly like a thumbtack works in real life. If I pin it, it holds it in place so that I can't accidentally scoot or delete it. So I'm going to pin it. And then I'm also going to come over here under modify and go to select here, this little tiny button. And I'm going to make sure it's selected by default, but I'm going to turn off select pinned objects. That means that I can no longer select this PDF that I've inserted. It makes it like flat and part of the background, which is convenient when you're working so that you don't accidentally select it. And when you're trying to select things that are on top of it, it just makes it easier so you're not constantly selecting the wrong thing. Later, if you're trying to select this and you can't, you just have to come back up here, turn this back on, and then unpin. When you unpin something, it's the button right above pin that looks like pin with the little red X. That will unpin. Okay. I'm going to come over here in my project browser. where we're on level 1 currently. We're going to rename that. You can right click, rename, and we're going to call that first floor plan. When you're working in an architectural set of drawings, everything is always all caps. I don't know why that's the law. It's just the law. When it asks you, would you like to rename corresponding levels and views? The answer is always no. We just want to leave those as level 1, level 2, etc. But we want to rename this view as floor plan, first floor plan. So say no. Okay, now it's renamed over here, first floor plan. Now we're going to make a new sheet. To make a new sheet or any kind of new that you're going to make, they all live under view, which is a little silly because they're not all views. Like I wouldn't think of a sheet as a view. I wouldn't think of a schedule as a view. A schedule is kind of like an Excel table. But if you're going to create something new that's in your browser, they all live up here under view. So we're going to go to view, new sheet over here on the right. And then we're going to select this title block. The paper size is E1, which is 30 by 42 inches, which is the standard size. We're going to say OK. And that has given us our first sheet. This is just the default Revit title block. You see the Autodesk logo and stuff. Typically, if you work for a firm, they'll have their own title block that's going to be customized. You know, it's going to have like your work logo up here. These are you know, your consultants, your MEP consultants, that's mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and plumbing engineering, MEP. You would list all those here, but obviously for this project, we don't have those. So you can leave these blank. Don't worry about those. Don't worry about this table. We're going to come down here. We're going to erase this. You can click. If you hover over a text box and it shows you this little blue box, that means you can type in it. So we're going to hover over owner. We're just going to delete that. We're going to delete project name. Under here, this is the sheet name. We're going to name this sheet first floor plan, all in caps. And then we're going to change the sheet number to A100. For project number, we're going to name this 0002 because this is assignment 2. Typically, that would be something your work would assign. There's usually a standard way to name projects by number. I'm going to put today's date. Don't worry about changing this every time you turn this in. Just put today's date and you can leave it that way for the duration of the project. You are the author, so you can put your name. And then checker is kind of like somebody who checks your work when you work on a project team. Obviously, we don't have one of those right now, so just leave that. You can either leave it as checker or leave it blank. All right, so you've got your title block ready to go on your sheet. The sheet is just kind of this whole page, this whole view that we're looking at here. This whole thing is just the sheet. But what you really think of as your sheet is what you see this title block. So we're looking at our sheet here. Don't forget to save as you go. I like to use Control S, which saves without having to come up here. Or you can click the little floppy disk to save at the top. Or you can come over here in File and click Save. Okay. Got our sheet. We're going to come over here. We're going to grab our first floor plan and we're going to drag it from the browser to the sheet. And then see how it's here. We're just going to click to place it. There it is. Your first floor plan is going to have all those wall types over here. Mine doesn't have that, but yours will, that you download from Canvas files, will have all those wall types. To hide those, we're going to crop them. So you have the view here. We have the sheet here, the title block. Right now I'm in the sheet because I can select the title block, and it works a lot like the frames in InDesign. So, you know, in InDesign, you have the blue frame that's like the outside that crops the picture. And then you double click into the picture to adjust the picture itself. Revit works exactly the same way. So right now I'm on the sheet, which is like the InDesign frame. This is the view that lives on the sheet, like the picture inside the frame. I double click to get into the view, to activate the view itself, to work on the floor plan, and it grays out my title block. And then to get back out, I double click outside here to get back out. You can also right click and say activate view, and then right click deactivate view, or you can set up keyboard shortcuts, which I like to do. Revit works with a lot of keyboard shortcuts. You learn them quickly and they make working a lot faster if you just type on the keyboard as opposed to having to click through all these ribbons all the time. So you come up here to view in your ribbon. You come way to the right over to user interface, and down at the bottom of that menu, you see keyboard shortcuts. You click it. To set up a new shortcut, we're going to search for the activate command, which is here. I already set this up in class today, so you see that here I have the shortcut AV for activate view. If you don't have that, then we'll select this command. You come down here, you type AV, you click assign, it assigns it here. Same for deactivate view. To find it, you can start typing deactivate. You select the command, you come down here, you type VV for deactivate view, you assign, and you say okay. So now I can select the view, type AV to activate it, type DV to deactivate it. You don't have to push the letters at the exact same time. You type like you were typing AV out as opposed to like pushing both buttons simultaneously. Okay. Let's crop this view. So imagine that you've got, hang on. Imagine that you've got, you've got wall types up here, right? That are taking up all this space. And we want to get rid of those. So you come over here, you activate your view. So I'm inside of this floor plan. You come down here. These options, crop view and crop region visible, are what we're going to use. Crop view just means yes or no. Do I want to crop this view? Crop region visible means, do I want to see the box that's doing the cropping? Like, do I want to see the frame? It's kind of like the undesign frame again. Do I want to see the box that's cropping, or do I want to make it invisible so that it stays cropped and I just don't see the outline? So we're going to say yes, crop the view. And then we're going to say yes, I want to see the crop region. You can't change the crop unless the view is visible, unless the region is visible. So see, now that I did that, I have this big black box that's like my crop box. You select it and these little blue dots appear in the middle, and that's how you drag it to crop it. So I'm going to crop in here. I'm going to crop off these building elevations. We're not going to use those. We don't need those. You can crop them off, or if you didn't, you could come in here and select, and you could select these two things here, the elevation marker and the elevation itself. You could delete. It will say it's going to delete the view. You say okay. Or you could select it and you can type EH for element hide, or you can right click and say hide in view elements. Does the same thing. Say you hide something and you want to unhide it. You want to see it again. You can type RH for reveal hidden, and it will show you anything that's been hidden as magenta. So now I can see this thing that I already hid. If you want to unhide it, you select it. You come up here to the top under modify, you say unhide element. And then when you're done looking at all the hidden stuff in magenta, you see you've got this reveal hidden elements in this pink box. When you're done, you say toggle reveal hidden elements mode. You can click away from this on the ribbon, say you're doing something else, and then you're ready to get out of the hidden view. Sometimes this button's still over here. It depends on which version of Revit you have. If it's not here and you're trying to get out of this pink reveal hidden mode, you just come back to modify here on the ribbon, the little green tab, and then you say toggle and get out of there. So now I'm out. I'm going to delete these as well. I don't want that there. And I'm going to make my crop nice and tight. I'm going to hide that little bit of text. I put that there for your benefit, but we're going to hide it. And remember, when you place your PDF, do not size it. Don't make it bigger, don't make it smaller, don't drag it, just place it and don't resize it at all. We need to make sure that we keep it at the true scale, because as soon as you stretch it at all, it's no longer going to be to the right scale. So we've got it cropped. I've got my little blue crop box, nice and tight. And see how when I deselect, I still see that crop box, and I don't want to see it. So I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to say, yes, I still want to crop my view, but no, I don't want the crop region to be visible. So we uncheck to say no. And now the box goes away, but it stays cropped. So now I'm going to deactivate my view, get out of it. I'm going to drag it. And then I'm going to drag my little title up here so that it's right under my view. To fix the little tail, see how my tail's way off the page. If you select the title bar, you can move it, but you can't change the tail. To change the tail, you have to select the view, and then this little dot appears, and then you can drag the tail in. I don't know why you have to select the view and not the label, but that's how that works. I was going to say something else. Shoot. It'll come to me. Oh, if you don't have this little title, it will be in the template. If you're having trouble with that, you got to come over here to your types. See, I'm in my properties box. These are my types. You don't have it here, so you have to load it. When you need to load something, sometimes you can come over here. You can say edit type, and then this box pops up, your type properties. My load button is grayed out. It's not going to let me load a new viewport. When that happens, instead, if you're having trouble loading something, you can say open, family, and then you can open whatever you need. So we're going to come down here to, what am I trying to load? My view title with sheet, open. That's inside the Imperial Library. Here, let me do that again. File, open, family. And see, I'm inside US Imperial was the folder I was in, which is the folder you may have to load in. If you're having trouble with that, if you didn't get it from the USB stick in class today, reach out to me and I will show you how to copy that over and make sure you have it on your computer. Go to your US Imperial Library, go to annotations, which should be the top folder alphabetically. Scroll way down here and find view title with sheet and then open. Once it's open, if you get this little message that says it's open for editing by another user, say continue. I don't know why it's telling us that. It has something to do with the fact, I think, that we've copied the library, but don't worry about that. It won't hurt anything. Just say continue. Don't do anything in here. All we're going to do is say load into project and close. We're going to load this family into this family, or I'm sorry, into this project. So now it lives in here. We're going to go back to my sheet, A100 first floor plan. We're going to work on the sheet and never, ever on the floor plan. We're going to work on the floor plan from the sheet. That's how you always need to be working. So if I need to change this, now I can come over here and I should be able to change it, but it's not working. Okay, if we're having trouble with that, if it's not loading, let me know. We'll figure it out. We'll deal with it. Okay. Make sure you're saving as you go. Control S. Now we're going to come over here to our project browser and we're going to duplicate this first floor plan. When you work in Revit, typically the way I always worked in school, because I didn't know any better, and probably the way that you all are working, is you're always working on this level 1 first floor plan, and you just have all kinds of things floating out in space here. You've got everything living on this plan. You're probably constantly hiding and unhiding things. You're probably copying the entire floor plan so that you can have some stuff like finishes over here, furniture over here. We're not going to do that. That's not how you work in real life. In real life, you just have the one single floor plan and everything is live and attached to that. So that's why we work on sheets, so that we can turn layers of things on and off on the sheets, but it all lives on one happy floor plan. So we're going to come over here to the browser, find your first floor plan, right click, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing. And now we have a copy. It always opens it when you make a copy. I don't know why. We're going to come over here to the project browser where it says copy, and you can right click, rename, and we're going to call this, oops, we're going to call this first floor finish plan. And now we're going to come down here to the properties. You're going to click edit. You have to make sure this is selected. Make sure your finished plan is selected in the browser. And then you're going to come down here to properties and say edit type. You're going to click duplicate because we're going to make a new type, and that's how you make a new type. Duplicate. We're going to name it finish plan. That's the new type. So now it's selected. We have floor plan, we have finish plan. These are like folders. We say finish plan. Okay. And now look, it's over here in a new folder, floor plans, finish plan. And then we have first floor plan under regular floor plans. We're going to do it again, duplicate view, duplicate with detailing. It made another copy, right click, rename. And we're going to call it first floor FF&E plan. Uh-oh, I mistypoed. Make sure it's all in caps. And then we're going to select it. We're going to come down here to edit type, duplicate. We're going to call it FF&E plan. We made a new type. Here's all our types. It's made here. We select it. We say okay. And now our FF&E plan lives in an FF&E folder. I know that seems really silly and arbitrary for this project because we don't really need to have one thing in each of these 3 folders. But when you work on a large scale project, when you have a career, there's going to be like 100 sheets in a set of drawings, you know, that your project is going to be like 100 sheets. And interiors may not work on all those sheets, but the project sheets set as a whole is going to be like 100 sheets. So you have all these folders and all these views and things that live over here, and it gets really complicated and really busy. So it's important that you put things in folders and that everything is organized well so that it's easy to find. You got to make sure everything is named clearly too, for the same reason. So we're going to close these plans that it opened when we created them. We're going to come back over here to A100 first floor plan sheet. We're going to work on the sheet. And then we're going to activate this view. You can tell when your view is activated because you can select things in it and the title block has been grayed out. You can tell that you're not in a view when your title block is selectable. That means that you're on the sheet and not on the view. If you can select the view as a whole like this, you see this black box, that means you're not yet inside the view. It's not activated because you're selecting it as a whole and you're moving it around like this. You're not moving the things, you're moving the frame, you're not moving the things inside of the frame. Some of you had this problem in class today, so I'll make sure I cover this again. And I think that's what I was thinking a minute ago. If you're dragging this, or if you're trying to drag it and it's dragging things inside, but it's not dragging it like you want across the page, that means you're inside the view. So some of you in class today didn't have your PDF pinned. So you all were in here. Well, hang on. So you all were in here. See, there's my pin. You can also click here to unpin. You all were like dragging your drawing like this. And you're like, why can't I move my view across my sheet? It's because you were dragging your PDF inside of the view. So instead, I'm going to repin that. I'm going to undo that again so that I can't select it to make my life easier. Okay. And now I can drag this around without dragging it inside of the view. gonna save, keep saving, keep saving. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna come in here, activate your view so that we're drawing inside of the plan. And we're gonna start drawing walls. So you'll notice on your handout, if you look at the PDF outside of Revit that I supplied, or if you look at the printed version that I handed out in class, you'll see all the wall types on there. And you'll see all these little wall tags that are these little diamonds. These show the contractor who's building the space, shows them what kind of wall to put where, because not every wall is constructed exactly the same, obviously. You know, exterior walls are usually way thicker. They've got brick, they've got different insulation, whereas like an interior wall might just be studs and what you would think of as like drywall, typically called gypsum board. Or, you know, some walls like, for instance, 923, which might be around a column, or a bathroom chase. A chase is like a wall where plumbing pipe goes, which, let's see, I'm trying to find an example. I've grayed out your bathrooms here. Your bathrooms are not in scope. They're over here in this gray area. But for example, a chase is kind of like what's happening here in this column. It's just where there's like space between two walls where things like columns and plumbing live. Those kind of walls are typically something like 923, which is thicker. It only has gyp on one side because there's no reason to have drywall on this side, since that's not like a room that we're going to go in or ever see. That's just where architectural components of the building live. So you've got all these little diamond wall tags that are telling you what the types of wall are. And inside the Revit template that I've supplied you all that you can get from Canvas files, all of those wall types should already be loaded in here for you. So you've got all these ones that come with Revit. You've got all these basic wall types. To get to the walls, you go to architecture, wall, or you can type WA for wall on your keyboard. You've got all these basic ones that come with Revit, but you should also have these other ones that I've loaded in for you, and these should be all the ones that you need. So you'll select the type of wall that you want to draw. So it looks like I'm going to start drawing with some 901A. So I'm going to select that here. And now it's telling me I'm drawing with type 901A. And see this little cursor with the crosshairs? That means I'm ready to draw a wall. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start tracing my 901A walls. It's going to be a little hard to see because the walls you're drawing on top of are black. And the walls you're drawing are black, but you'll be able to figure it out. And then afterward, then you can hide the PDF so that you only see the walls that you've drawn in Revit and you're not looking at the PDF anymore. So I'm going to start drawing these 901A walls. So see, when I'm drawing a wall, after I click to place it, it wants to chain. Chain means just to connect more walls onto the end. See, it wants to just like keep going. If you don't want to do that, of course, we don't most of the time. After you've placed the part of the wall that you want and then you don't want to be attached to it, you can hit the escape key on your keyboard and it will tell it to stop chaining, but then you're ready to click to start a new one. So I placed some 901A walls over here. This top wall up here is a 923. We can see that the tag is showing us it's 923 here. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to choose 923 and then I'm going to connect it. So I'm going to put that there. Right now, you're just kind of guesstimating. You're putting the walls as closely as you can on top of the walls on the PDF. When you're working in real life, typically, we don't do a whole lot of new construction. Typically in real life, you end up doing a lot of renovations, additions. You're changing something or adding to something that already exists. So when you're trying to figure out how to draw that in Revit, the client will give you some drawings. Sometimes they're literally like pieces of paper falling apart that are dated from like 1982. Sometimes it's like a PDF they email you that's really grainy. It all depends. And it's usually not the set of drawings that you wish they were giving you. It's never a full set. There's always pages and information missing. So this is literally what we do for work. You will import whatever it is you have, a PDF, a picture of a piece of paper. You'll import it and you just start to draw over top of it. And obviously it's not going to be exactly correct, you know, just by drawing on top of a PDF or a picture of a blueprint. You're not going to get down to the exact, you know, 1/8 of an inch of what the building is in real life. Even a lot of times we get existing drawings from a client and we start looking at them, and then you go to the space, like the actual space in person, and you see that things are different. You know, the drawing says, look, there's a door here, but then you go visit in person and there's actually not a door there. The door's over here, you know. So things have changed even since the drawings sometimes, like they don't have the most recent set of drawings available to give you. So you just guess, you make things as close as you can, you trace over, and then what you would do next in real life is you would go to the space, like I was just talking about. You'd go to the space, you take 10 million pictures of every possible detail and wall and door and thing and view and little bit of scuffed floor and thing on the wall that you don't know what it is, everything. And you compare to the drawings when you're there, you compare to the drawings that you were provided. And then when you, and you field measure. So you take, you know, a couple of you take like a laser measure and a tape measure, and you measure everything. And then you go back to work and you compare the measurements in the pictures that you took to the drawings. And that's when you make everything exact to get it as close to real life as possible. So how we're going to do that for this assignment is you are going to trace everything. Obviously, we can't go field measure. We're not going to go measure the actual walls of the space, which does exist in real life, but we're not going to do that. So you're going to draw the walls on top of the PDF as accurately as you can. And then if you need to move something, you can nudge it with the arrow keys on your keyboard if you need to get it a little bit closer. They should be able to be really close because these are, the PDF is nice and crisp from you, created from Revit. So instead of being like a crappy, you know, picture of a picture that somebody sent us, you have a nice clean PDF to work with, and you have the actual wall types. So you should be able to line them up pretty nicely. But then the next part that gets a little bit tricky. Oh, hang on, I'm skipping a part. So also don't forget, you need to trace these grid bubbles. So you see all these numbers on the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you see over here on the bottom, you see A, B, C, D, E. These are your column grid. So you see that where they meet, you know, it's hard to see over here in the not in scope area, which is the part of the project you don't need to worry about. We're not concerned with this dark gray spot. But where you see where the grid bubbles match, that's where your columns are. That's your column grid. So you need to draw those out. So you go to architecture tab up here, and then you go over here to grid, and it kind of looks the same, right? It's got all those little bubbles. Click it. And then we'll trace these same way we're tracing the walls, right? See how mine is backwards. I've got the number on the wrong side. You can select your bubble, and then you can click this to turn it on the other end, and then click this to turn it off at this end. So just click the boxes to make it line up. Do the same thing as the walls. Try to get it as close to lining up as you can. I'm going to do a few more just to show some dimensioning. Draw these out. You want their little bubble heads to line up. See how it gives you the blue line? That's kind of like when Illustrator or Photoshop snaps. It's the same kind of tool. So you want to make those all line up nicely. The building has a little jog here, so you'll see that these don't line up quite as nicely. I'm gonna draw those. I know they're not nice and straight yet, but I'm going to go back and line them up. I'm going to nudge them with my arrow keys on the keyboard. Nudge, nudge, make them straight. Oop. Okay. If something needs to move really far, you can hold shift and then use your arrow keys and it'll move further for each time you push the arrow key. If you just need to move it a little bit, then just push the arrow key by itself. So we're gonna move that up there, make it nice and aligned. Okay. Now I'm gonna do the vertical ones. Go to architecture, go to grid. Draw my little bubbles. Okay. And then we're gonna scoot them, line them up. Oh, I should have said this a while ago. To move around the screen, you can hold the scroll wheel on your mouse, click it and hold it down, and then you can move. Scoot all these, line them up. Okay. And then to change the text, you can just click in it. Some of these look like they are correct, but then see these down here are not right. I need these to be letters. So you can hover over it and you see that there's a text box you can click. And I'm just going to replace the text inside of there to match the bubbles on the PDF. Okay. So now I've got my grid lines. I'm gonna save. And I haven't done all my walls, obviously. I just did a couple of walls up here. You all are gonna trace all of these black walls here. Trace everything. Some of you all asked about, is there a wall here? You can choose to put a wall here if you'd like, you don't have to. This is where the circulation goes from the lobby towards this region of the building, which I've labeled as not in scope. This is not going to be part of our assignment. The circulation goes on. You can put a wall here. It's up to you. That's not going to matter. Okay, so we're going to dimension this stuff. So I think some of you were getting a little confused because you were looking at your PDF and forgetting that there weren't actually walls in Revit there. We're just looking at the PDF, which looks like Revit because it came from Revit. So I'm going to hide my PDF just for this section of my explanation, just to make it a little easier. So I made it to where I can select my pinned objects. Now I can select it, I can unpin it, and I'm going to hide it. So see, this is all that I've drawn so far. I've got my grid lines and I've got these couple of walls that I drew. To dimension, you can come up here to annotate in the ribbon, and then you come over here to aligned, which is like an aligned dimension. It's two things that are parallel, or what this tool can dimension. So we're going to click it, and then you're going to start dimensioning to match the dimensions on the PDF, which I'll show you in just a moment. So to use the dimension tool, you know, dimension goes from point A to point B. So you click, you can, anything that turns blue when you hover over it is something that you can dimension to or from. So I'm going to click here, which is like point A. I'm measuring from there. And now it says, okay, what do you want to dimension to? And I'm going to say I want to dimension to here. So I click it. And now look, I've got a dimension there. If I'm done, if that's all I want to dimension, it's saying, okay, where do you want me to put this? So then you click again to place it. And now it's there. If you want to dimension multiple things in a string, you just keep clicking. You say, okay, from here to here, but then I also want one to here. And then I also want one to here. And then when you're done, you say place. And you'll see that it's doing the same thing where it'll snap and it'll align to this other dimension if we want to. If you dimension to the wrong thing, so say that I really wanted this dimension to go to here and not to here. Instead of just deleting this whole thing and redoing it, you can grab this little button here. So every dimension has these two little blue buttons. The one on the bottom is just saying, where do you want the little tail to go? you know, where do I want to show the dimension? See how it's moving my little tail. If you click the middle one, that lets you choose to adjust your dimension. So maybe I don't want it here. Maybe I want to actually dimension over here. It will adjust. Okay, now is the other part of dimensioning. So I'm going to unhide my PDF for this next part. Come up here, unhide, toggle. I'm going to make sure that it's pinned. And then I'm going to say I don't want to select pinned objects. Okay. So you need to start matching the dimensions that are on the PDF. If you're using the correct wall types, theoretically, it should all be able to match up exactly. See how my dimension matches the PDF dimension. If it doesn't, so say, see my dimension now is 24.8, and I need it to be 26 between these two grid lines. Here's how you adjust. You click the object that's either to or from. So like one of the objects that's actually being dimensioned, you click it and see how my dimension turned blue and it got small. I'll do it again. I click the object, my dimension turned blue and small. Now I can click in there and I'm adjusting the location of this object. So I can type 26, and in Revit, it assumes that if you type a single number, it assumes that it's already in feet. So I don't have to type this little foot symbol. If I type two numbers like this, it assumes the first one is feet and the second one is inches. I still don't have to type the little feet and inches notation. See? So when I do that, it moves it. If you just click on a dimension, see how it didn't get small? That means that I'm not changing the measurement. That means I'm changing the text. And those are two different things. The measurement is not the same as the text. The measurement is the actual amount of feet and inches between these two things. The text is just a whole separate thing. You know, the text is like, I could type whatever I want up here, but that doesn't mean that that's truly the dimension. So if you click on this and you get this box, that's not, you're not actually changing the dimension. That means like if I wanted to type verify, you know, you might type something like that on a drawing set to mean the contractor needs to field verify this measurement before he does any work, like he needs to confirm. But you can't just come in here, like if I say I want to replace this with text, doing that is cheating, and it will tell you like, I see that you're trying to change this to a number, but that's not going to change the dimensions. So if you see this box, that means you're doing it wrong. Don't do that. Instead, here, I'm going to delete this because we don't want that on there. Instead, you need to select the object so that you can change the amount of space between the objects. My type gets small and blue. I can now type in this box and I can change it to match this dimension that I want. Okay, now that the dimension matches, I want to lock it to keep it at 26, because as you start to dimension all these other things, as you get more dimensions that are locked on your project, it might change other ones if you don't lock them to make the second thing true, if that makes sense. So if you lock it, these things won't change. They're going to stay exactly how you want them to stay. Now here is a caveat to that. I locked this dimension right, so it's not going to change. If I delete this dimension string, like just the measurement here, if I delete that, it's going to give me this warning, and it's going to say a dimension that has lock constraints is being deleted, but the elements will still be constrained. Push unconstrained to remove the constraints, or OK to leave them constrained. If you leave them constrained, which means that that dimension cannot be anything other than 26 feet 0 inches. If you leave it that way and you don't unconstrain it, then it might mess you up later, because you're going to be trying to do things and it's going to say, no, you can't do that because it's constrained, and you're going to be really confused why it's not working, why it won't let you. So if you, for some reason, need to delete that dimension, when it gives you this warning, you need to say, yes, unconstrain, so that then you can still move these things in the future and it's not going to like freak out. Now, The reason you do need to lock these, let me put my dimension back. The reason you need to lock your dimensions like this with the little padlock here, you can select it and lock it and unlock it. The reason you need to do that is because say, you know, as I keep going, say I need to move one of these because this measurement over here is not working out. Like it's too small, I need to make it bigger. So I need to move this thing over, right? Now see, it's moving both of them together so that it keeps this dimension at 26 while I fix this one over here. It will hold that dimension. So it means it's, even though I just selected this one, it's going to move this one over here on the left too, because that space between them is locked. So now I'm going to put it back where it goes. Leave it alone. Okay. So you all need to draw all these black walls, make them the correct type, and dimension all the things as you see them dimensioned. You'll see that there are some dimensions over here in the not in scope area. You can disregard those because those are dimensioning to walls that are underneath of this gray space. So you don't need to worry about that. A couple of you asked me about this dimension up here and this dimension down here that are showing you from like walls to something in the gray. You can also ignore these two, this one here and this one here. Okay, let's save while we're here. Also when you're dimensioning, when you are dimensioning to walls, you'll see that, like, I know it's hard to tell because these walls are black, but you'll see that this dimension is to the center of this wall. And you'll see that when you try to dimension to a wall, here's walls that I've drawn. You'll see that it wants to choose the center of the wall. Default. See how it's like glowing in the center of the wall? You need to match your dimensions to wherever they are dimensioned on the PDF. So for example, this dimension here is saying from the grid line, the column line, to the center of this wall is 8 foot, 8 inches and a half. Sometimes there might be dimensions that are to the face of a wall instead of the center. And you're going to be like, how the heck do I do that? Because it keeps wanting to dimension to the center of the wall. I want to dimension to the face. You can, before you click, when you're ready to dimension and you see this little symbol by your cursor, when you hover, it's going to choose the center of the wall. You can click, you can come over here near the face of the wall, hit tab, and it will select with the blue the face of the wall instead. See how it's showing me the face in blue? Let me try that again. I don't know why it doesn't want to let me. Hang on. Let's troubleshoot because it's not wanting to let me. Let me make a new wall that I can see. I'm just going to choose a generic wall so that I can see it in white instead of in black. Okay, I'm just going to draw it up here in blank space. Okay. See, it's wanting to choose the center. I don't want the center. I want the face. So if I hit tab, while I'm kind of near the face, it'll choose the face, but you've got to be close enough for it to work. I think that's what my problem was. If I'm not close enough to the face, it's going to be like, I don't know what you're trying to grab. So you have to be like right on it, push tab, it will highlight, and then you can select it. Okay, I'm going to delete these out of our way. Okay, let's save. I deactivated my view. See, I'm outside of my view. Now we're going to come in here after you have dimensioned all of your walls, you've drawn all your walls, you've placed like your doors. Some of you had a question about this dimension. So this dimension is to the center of this door. You won't be able to put this dimension here until you've put the double door here. So let's go ahead and do that because there's another question about that. So I'm going to activate this view, double click into it. I need type 923 wall. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to draw a wall here. I'm going to draw a wall here. And then I need a type 901 that's going to come. Oh, I accidentally changed this one. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to put that back as 923, deselect, and then I'm going to type WA or come here for a new wall. I'm going to say 901, and then I'm going to draw that across here. Okay, and now we're going to place the door. You can type DR for door, or you can load a family from your Imperial Library. You come into the Imperial Library, go to doors. I would go to probably commercial, or maybe some of these will work. Find what you need. Double door. This one should work. Flush panel, or we can do glass if you want to. It's up to you. It's going to ask, do you want to load all these types, or which one do you want to load? I like to say all of them. Just select them all. Say okay. And then we have them all over here. All the ones that you loaded will be here. So I'm going to try to figure out what size this door is. It looks like the door I picked is a little too skinny. So we're going to try to find the one that matches the closest. So that was a 68-inch wide door. I'm going to try 72 and see if that matches. That looks like it matches closer. And I've got it aligned with the center as best as I can. So now I can create this dimension. It's going to go from the face. Let me see. No, I'm sorry. Center of this wall to the center of this door to the center of this wall. And it looks like our dimension is pretty darn close. 4 feet, 1/16 of an inch, 4 feet versus 4 feet, 1930 seconds, and 4 feet, 1 and 3/30 seconds. We're pretty close. I'm going to change this dimension to be 4. Looks like we've got an extra inch. So that means one of these walls is probably not where it needs to be. See, now I can select this wall. I'm going to lock this side. I want that to say 4 feet because that one's right. That one matches. Select this wall, change this dimension. Let's say 4 feet, 1/16 of an inch. And now that dimension matches with that one. And I'm going to lock that. All right. Now we're going to scroll back out. Okay. Deactivate your view and save. Okay. We're going to come back into the view. And you're going to choose one of these 4 exam rooms, 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're going to pick one of them. It doesn't matter which one. That's going to be the exam room you're going to work with for this project. You're going to come up here to view. You're going to come over here to call out. We're going to make an enlarge plan. So I'm going to do exam room 2 up here in the corner. I'm going to drag, you click to place, and then you drag, and then you click again to place the other side. So now I've got this view. The little bubble is over here, and you can see that it's kind of interfering with some dimensions. So if you select it and you see these little blue dots, I'm going to drag this little head out of the way up here so that I can see it more clearly. Okay, so the way a typical drawing set works, the hierarchy is that you have a sheet with the floor plan that's like the entire floor plan of, I'm sorry, the entire, it shows the entire floor on that particular level of the building. So for our project, we have the first floor plan and it shows the entire first floor. And then, you know, sometimes that's like a huge amount of space. Sometimes that's like 100,000 square feet, like just, you know, imagine a skyscraper or something, big, huge space. So then on the paper, each little tiny room, especially a room like 100 square feet, is like teeny tiny. So you could never put like dimensions on it. You could never show things in the room because it would just be so crowded and so tiny on the page. Like that's never going to work, right? So how that turns out in the sheet set is you have that sheet that shows the whole floor, and then you make a call out like this. that we just made that's called an enlarged floor plan. So we're going to show that at double the scale. That's typically how it works. So this floor plan is at 1/8 inch scale. Typically Revit's pretty good about making it double the size on its own. So we can confirm that by coming over, we select it. We come over here to its properties and we see that it's at 1/4, which is twice the size as 1/8. So we know that it's in the correct view scale. And we can see that it populated up here on our project browser. We see first floor plan, call out 1. And we know that that's this one because when you select it and you come down here in the properties, you see that its name, view name, says first floor plan, call out 1. That's not how we're going to leave it. Instead, we're going to say, you're going to call it the room number, the room name, and enlarged plan. So I'm going to say, all in caps, enlarged plan dash 110 exam 2, room number, room name. Okay. We're going to type title on sheet. We're going to call that enlarged plan. Now, the difference between these two things is a little bit tricky. The view name, you can think of like a username, like no two people can have the same username, right? Like everybody has to have an independent username. So that's the view's actual name up here in the browser. See, it matches enlarged plan 110 exam 2, enlarged plan 110 exam 2. When you come to title on sheet, that just means like how the name displays when you place it on your sheet. So we want that to say enlarged plan because we're going to have the room tag on the plan itself. We don't need the name of the room down here because that leaves room for human error. So we're going to come back to our sheet, A100. We're going to get out of that view, deactivate, either type DV or right click, deactivate view, or double click away from your view. We're going to come up here to our enlarged plan and we're going to drag it just like we dragged the floor plan. We're going to drag it over here. And you want to align their little titles. See how it snaps? You always want to align those. It's just good etiquette. It brought our little grid bubbles and everything. Those are the walls I drew. I didn't draw enough walls because you see that we're missing the one over here on the side, but that's okay. You should have all the walls. We want to get rid of that crop box. That's just showing the extent of the view, and you can see it highlights over here on my floor plan when I click it here. It's because these things are the same. We're looking at the same floor plan, just in 2 different views. But if I change something here, it changes over here. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to turn off crop region because I don't want to see that box. Sorry. Okay, we're going to come down here. We're going to turn off crop region visible because we don't want to see that box around here. I just want to see the room. I'm going to come up here and go ahead and draw this wall on the side just so that things are a little bit clearer. So I'm going to come in this view. I'm going to draw a wall. It's not the right type, so I'm going to change it. This wall doesn't have a type marker on it. Okay. I don't know what type that is because I've deleted the tag off the PDF. So I'm going to guess that that's an exterior wall. It's pretty thick. It's probably going to be something like 12-inch masonry. So now I'm going to move it over here. Okay. So now when I come down here, you see that I have, hang on, deactivate the view. You see that I have all 4 walls showing, which is good. Don't worry if it's a little funky. That's just because the different wall types display in different ways. Like these are all black and this one's showing that it's showing a cut pattern, essentially. My husband is asking me what kind of smoothie I want, so hang on and I'm going to answer a text. Okay, we're going to save. Okay, I'm going to come back up here. You can do this in either of these because like I said, they're linked. It's the same exact thing. So anything I do in one is going to happen in the other. So either one you want, I don't care. Activate one of your views. We're going to place a room. To place a room, you can type RM, or you can come up here to architecture and select room. And if you ever forget what the commands are, if you forget what the keyboard shortcuts are, if you hover, it'll tell you. See, it says room and then it says RM. So I'm going to click it. And I'm going to place my room in here. The room is the X. And typically when you place a room, it goes ahead and tags it only in the view that you're in. So you'll see here on my enlarged plan, I'm placing the room. The room will be in all my plans. So it's going to also be in my floor plan, but the tag will not. So hang on and I'll show you. We're going to place it. The blue and the X is the room. This little thing is the room tag. We're going to change the name to match the name on the PDF, which is exam 2. And the number was 110. And I also want it to show the square footage. So if I come over here in properties, I'm going to change the type to say room tag with area. And now it's going to show my square footage. Now, if you notice, you come up here, I'm going to activate my other view and look in here. If I look around for it, I can find my room. It's here. Now we just have to tag it because it doesn't automatically tag it in all the views. So you can either come up here to architecture and go to tag room, or you can type RT and you can think room tag. So I'm going to type RT. I'm going to place it. And then I'm going to change the type. Now, don't come up here and place another room. There's already a room here. If you try to place another room, it's going to give you this warning with the big orange thing. It's going to say, hey, you already have a room here. You don't need to place a second one. So I'm going to undo that because we don't want that. We don't want the extra room. We just want another room tag. So now we've got a room tag. I'm going to save. Get in the habit of doing Control S, just all the time, Control S, every time you finish a task. Now we're going to come in here to our enlarged view, and we're going to create elevation views. Like I said, the hierarchy is you go from the big, huge plan to see how this is so much bigger now. Now it's double the size as it was over here. We've got our nicer, bigger, enlarged plan. And then here, we're going to create elevation views, and that's going to show us a view of each one of these walls so that the contractor who's building this building can see like what needs to be mounted where on which wall, what finishes need to be on which wall, that kind of thing. To do that, you're going to go to view. You're going to click this little thing that kind of looks like a house, elevation view. And then you're going to click to place it. You'll see that it kind of points at the walls as you get closer to them. Pick one of the walls. It doesn't matter which because we're going to elevate all of them. But if you were specifically trying to do one, you can push tab for it to kind of go around the circle to give you the options. So I'm just going to go over here. It doesn't matter where in the room you place this right now. Your main square can be anywhere. So I'm going to stick it over here. And then that created this elevation view. This is plan west. So we've got plan west elevation, but I need all 4. So if you select the center square, these little boxes pop up and you want to click them, and that creates those additional points. So see, now I have all 4. Next thing we're going to do is rename these. So just like we named the floor plan and we named the enlarged plan, we're going to select the view. So right now I've selected my plan north elevation. You want to come down here to your properties to find the name. Over here in identity data in your properties, we're going to name it. You start with the room number, so 110, exam room, and then we're going to say dash north. And then do the same thing for all the other ones. So we're going to call this 110 exam 2 dash west. And you'll see that they're changing up here as well. You see the names changing under elevations. Click this one. We're going to name it 110 exam 2 south. And then click here. 110 exam to east. Okay. Now, just like I talked about usernames and how each view has like its actual name and then its name on the sheet. See how this is called enlarged plan, but its actual name was enlarged plan 110 exam 2. We're going to do the same thing with the elevations. So select all 4 triangles, all 4 views here. I'm going to change them all at once. You can change them individually and that's fine, but sometimes you're changing a lot of things at once. You know, it saves you a little bit of time. So you select a view, you come down here, you change title on sheet, or I'm going to do all 4 at once. I'm going to select all 4. See, it's telling me that their real names are different. They all have different names, but we're going to change all of their names on the sheet to interior elevation. And the reason we do that is, again, it eliminates any possibility of human error. So, you know, I could name the view to show up on the sheet and say exam room 2 north elevation. But say I accidentally named the wrong one and it's actually the west elevation and I've named it north. Well, then that's a problem because the contractor is going to look at that and they're going to start installing the wrong stuff on the wrong wall, you know, whatever. There's going to be mistakes and questions and we don't want that. So, you know, once you place your elevations on the sheet, the center box is going to populate the sheet number. And then these triangles are going to populate the detail number. So for example, on this sheet, this is detail 2 is our enlarged plan. So when we come up here, see now it says 2 A100 on the floor plan. That's telling me where I can find this view. It's saying you can find that on sheet A100 and it's detail 2, which is true. I come down here, it's on A100 and I see the 2. Same thing happens with the elevations. So that way that they're referenced by the smart tags that Revit creates instead of me naming them because I might get it wrong, but Revit's not going to. So that's why we just call them interior elevation on the sheet. So we're gonna deactivate, oh no, hang on, we're gonna save. We're not gonna deactivate yet, we're gonna stay in here. So when you create elevations, when we draw them, we are just drawing the wall that the view is pointing at. We are not drawing the furniture that's in front of the wall. We are literally just drawing the wall or anything that is attached to it. So for example, you would show wall base, like rubber base or trim that's on your wall. You would show a window or a door that's in the wall. You would show, say for example, you have a hand sanitizer dispenser that's attached to your wall. If it's attached to the wall, you would show it. You might have like a paper towel dispenser that's attached to the wall. You might have a TV screen that's attached to the wall. You might have a counter that's attached to the wall. You only show things that are attached and not things like furniture that are in front of the wall. So we want to put our view really close. See, I'm moving it with my arrow keys. I'm moving the view close to the wall because I don't want to see other things in the room that are like back here. So if you put it close, those things are out of the way. And see, this is telling me the depth. I don't want to see like way back here because the wall's in the way anyway, right? Like we're not going to see through the wall. So I'm going to adjust this pretty close. It doesn't have to be perfect, just close to the other side of the wall. And then these little blue dots, it should automatically, Revit should, you know, kind of put them here to the edge of the wall because that's the extent of the elevation we want to see. Like inside a room, you want to see corner to corner. So you want to make sure that these little dots are aligned with the face of the wall. Sometimes Revit's a little crazy and it will have them like way out here. It'll give you these big, huge things. I'm not sure why it does that, but if it's crazy or if they're not quite right, you just want to pull them in here to the face of the wall. So your elevation should look like that. We're going to do that for all 4. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to scoot it way over there close to the wall. And then I'm going to bring this in. And I'm going to make sure my little dots are lined up good. Same here. Scoot it down. Oops, too far. Scoot it down and pull this in. My little dots are good. And then we're going to scoot this one over and pull this in. All right. So our elevations are here. We see them here, but look, they're the wrong type. It says building elevations. These are not building elevations. That's like the whole west facade of a building or something. Like, we don't want that. These are interior elevations. We're going to select these. We're going to come down here. We're going to change the type to interior elevation. And see, now we got our little circle. That's what I was talking about in class, and you all were confused. Right now we've got these weird little names populating. We don't want that. I think when we place them on our sheet, those will go away, but hang tight and let's see. It's a little funky. Okay, we're going to create a new sheet. So we're going to go up here to view. We're going to go to sheet. It's going to use your title block, the size E1, architectural E1, which is 30 by 42 inches. Say, okay, there's our new sheet. You're going to change your title block appropriately. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you're going to fill in the same stuff we filled in earlier. You're going to put the right sheet name and sheet number. You can refer to Canvas for those. There's a list there under Progress Set 1, which is due Friday. Okay, we've got our elevation sheet. I guess I should go ahead and name this just so that you all are clear. We're going to name this interior elevations. That's your sheet name. And see, that'll show up over here. If you expand sheets over here in your project browser, see, now we see all our sheets here and they're named appropriately. We're going to do the same thing we did earlier. We're going to come to our interior elevations and we're going to drag them onto our sheet. And you can just put them in a nice little line, align their little title blocks. Sometimes Revit is dumb and your elevations won't come in nice and neat like this. Sometimes you will create an elevation, you'll put it on your sheet, and the crop box is going to be like this. And you're going to be like, what the heck? That is not what I want. Sometimes you'll see lots of walls and you'll be like, I don't know which one is, I don't know where I need to crop this to, like which is the right room. So if you can't figure that out, here is a trick to fix this. You're going to go back to your floor plan and you're like, okay, I know that this needs to be this wall. I just don't know which wall that is in my elevation. So you can select it here because you know that's the wall you want. You come here, aha, see it's highlighted. So now I know which wall I need crop to. So I'm going to crop it back in here. This is the same box. So see, I'm dragging it here. It's the same box that we drag here. Same thing. It's just looking at it from a different angle. Here we're looking at it top down, but on this sheet, we're looking at like the front. So I'm going to drag this in inside my wall and it should kind of snap. And there you go. You've got your elevations. This one is showing up differently. It's showing that wall with a different pattern because that is that exterior wall that I took a guess at. That's why it's showing a different pattern. So we've got those placed. You don't have to draw those for this week. We don't have to draw what's inside of the elevation yet. We're going to do that another week, but I want you to go ahead and have them placed here on this wall so that we can start thinking about what's going to be on each of those elevations. So I've got them placed. I'm going to save. And let's see what else do we have to do. Okay, we're going to come back to our floor plan and see these are showing up weird. We don't want to see this name. We just want to see the number. So we're going to figure out how to get rid of that. We don't want that. Let me see. I've never seen it do that, but you know what? Revit's really weird. Let's see if I can edit in the type. Hang with me and let's see if it works. So try something else. Okay, well, we're going to figure it out. Revit is a lot of problem solving. There are constantly things like this that pop up that you're like, well, I've never seen that before. And you learn as you go. You learn how to get rid of that stuff. And then the next time you remember what you did. So you're just constantly building on skills. Okay, well, maybe we need to edit. I'm gonna test some stuff. Okay, it's pulling from there. Don't want it to. Let's see if we can Google. Let's Google and find out. Revit showing view. No, Revit showing elevation, view, name, contact. Okay. Control the call out under manage settings elevation tag. Let's see about that. Manage. I don't think that's it. Hmm. Okay, well, I might have to share this tag with you all because this is going to be a little complicated, but I'm going to open the family that we're dealing with. It's probably under annotations. Yep. I'm going to open it. I am going to delete these stupid reference tags. Yep, I don't want that. They go away. I went to edit type and I was editing this family type, this elevation marker type. I turned off reference because that's like referencing the view name. I don't want that. I'm going to load it back into my project. I'm going to save over it. Nope, it's not going to let me. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm going to load it into my project. I'm going to say, no, I don't want to save. It's going to ask me, do you want to overwrite? And yes, I want to overwrite the existing version and its parameter values. I want to get rid of the version of that tag that's living in my project, and I want to replace it with this one that I'm loading. Okay, let's go back to our sheet. Let's see if we can change this. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's the circle. Maybe that's it. I didn't save. I'm just gonna load it. I'm not gonna close it because I might have to come back. Oh shoot. Okay. Load into project. Overwrite. We are struggling. Back to the family. I'm just curious now what these are going to show. So we do let them build. Let's try that. Overwrite. Back to the sheet. No. Let's see what that said. Hmm. Annotations, annotation tags. No, that's where we were. It's the same thing. Let's see if we can just delete these references altogether. Oops. So that they're not even there, not even there. Where's my parameters? Oh, it's a nested family. That's why. Okay. You can have families and families and families and families and families, which is stupid. And sometimes that creates some problems. Okay. I wonder if it's just not associated. I have a feeling that's the problem, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to just delete it because I don't want it there. We're going to load it back into that family. Overwrite, see now it's gone. Now we're going to load that back into the project. Okay, I will figure out how to get this to you all so you all don't have to go and figure that out yourselves. You're welcome to try. But if you can't get it to work, I will figure out how to get this tag to you on Canvas. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yay, now look, now it's working. Now we just have the numbers, and that's what I was talking about. So, you know, you have your floor plan, you see the call out. The call out tells you to go to A100 detail 2 to see that room. So we go here, A100 detail 2. This one tells you to see these elevations, you need to go to A180 and look at 1, 2, 3, and 4. We want this to show up here on, we want these elevation markers, the tags, to show up on the enlarged drawing. We don't want them to show up here because we want that hierarchy, right? Like we want to go from biggest to smallest. So the floor plan to the enlarged plan to the elevations. So I'm going to activate this view and I'm going to hide these. Now you could hide these individually, but if you're working on a giant project and you had like 1 million elevations and you don't want to miss one and they're like all over the place, here's the faster way to do it. You type VV as in like very. It opens the visibility graphics box, which I'm honestly not even sure how to get to without typing. I think it's under manage. Let's see. Not sure. Modify. Honestly, I would just type VV. Because clearly that's faster. Oh, here. Okay, you can go to view and then visibility graphics. It'll open the same box, view visibility graphics, or you can type VV and it'll open that box. Come over to the annotation categories tab, scroll down to alphabetically, you'll find elevations. I'm going to uncheck that because I don't want them to be visible in this view. Okay, and now all my elevation tags are gone and they won't show up in this drawing, but they still show up here. We want them to show up here. Okay, I'm gonna save. What else do we have? We've created sheets, we've used the title block, we've placed a floor plan, we've drawn the walls, we've covered dimensioning, we've placed the enlarged plan, We've created these finish and FF&E plans. Let's go ahead and put those on sheets. Sorry, I'm going to close that. We're going to create a sheet with the title block. You're going to name this, let's see, A800 for finish. Oops, sorry, hang on, wrong box. First floor finish plan. You're going to call it A800. You're going to come over here, you're going to find your finish plan, and you're going to drag it on here. So we've created the finish plan sheet. And then we're going to do that again. We're going to make another sheet with the title block. We're going to call it first floor FF&E plan. And the number is going to be A900. And then you're going to drag your first floor FF&E plan onto the sheet. Thank you. Okay, so now you've got those created. You've got first floor plan sheet, you've got first floor plan finish sheet, and first floor FF&E plan. Right now they're going to all look the same, but later we will be adding finish information and furniture to these plans, but we don't want that to be visible on the other sheets. You just want each layer of information visible on that particular sheet. So we're good there. I'm going to save. We've placed rooms. We've placed room tags. You will have to tag those rooms again in these two sheets. Not place a room, just place a room tag, and you're going to have to turn off those elevations again because these are different views. We've duplicated those views, remember, so it doesn't carry over those same properties. So I'm going to go to annotation categories. I'm going to turn off elevations. And I'm going to come do it over here. Annotation categories. Oops, turn off elevations. Okay. We're going to save. Oh, room tags. I need to come back over here. Get inside my view. I activated my view. I'm going to place a room tag. I'm going to change it to the right name. Or I'm sorry, the right type so it shows my square footage. I'm going to activate this view. I'm going to place a room tag, and I'm going to change it to the right type. Okay. And then let's see. All right, I think that's everything we covered today. There was a couple other questions. Some of you were asking about curtain walls. Curtain walls are like walls made of glass and mullion. So like think of, that study room that we have class in most weeks. That glass wall is a curtain wall. So like right here outside of the conference room, this is a curtain wall. And then over here, this wall here outside of the conference room, lobby to the conference room, this is a curtain wall. Right now, all I need you to do for that is when you're building your walls, you can come down here and choose curtain wall. And we're just going to draw one like that. Don't worry about the door for now. Curtain walls are very complicated. Well, they seem very complicated and they are hard to understand how to work, like how to place a door inside of one until somebody shows you. And then it's really not that hard. It's just not easy to figure out on your own. So just go ahead and place the curtain wall. Don't worry about the door. We'll cover that another week. Okay, once you have all your walls, all your dimensions, you've got all your sheets, I want you to hide your PDFs so that when you turn in your progress set one, I just want to see like walls and dimensions and room tags, that kind of thing. I don't want to see your PDF behind things because I want to be able to see what you've drawn and not see the PDF through there. Make sure that all of your views and your sheets are named appropriately. And then make sure that you've saved. and then to print. So I know that we had some trouble with this in class. I think I figured it out. So when you submit your assignment, you're going to be submitting me PDFs of your sheets. I don't want like random screen grabs of like level 1 first floor plan. I don't want views. I want your sheets. I want to see your sheets on a PDF. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to print, not export. We're going to go to print. You need to get your Adobe PDF as an option in your printers. It will not work with the Microsoft Print to PDF. The way that I got it to show up in here, when I was in class this morning, Adobe PDF was not giving me an option. And it didn't seem like it was an option for most of you. It was pretty simple to fix. All I did was go to, my Creative Cloud, made sure I had Adobe Acrobat installed, and then I made sure that I was signed in. And once I did that, Adobe PDF became an option in my printers. That was all I had to do. Let me know if you're struggling with that and I can help you. It should be, okay. So now we come in here to file. So we've got our printers selected. We come down here to this set of options. You can choose either one of these that you prefer. I like to select this first option, combine multiple selected sheets into a single file. It just puts all your PDF sheets into like one PDF file. Whereas if you select create separate files, it's going to save each of your sheets as a separate PDF. I think it's going to be easier for you if you just combine them. It'll be easier for you to turn them in on Canvas. So you'll choose where you want to save it. It'll ask you again in a minute. Then we're going to come down here to print range, these options here. We're going to say selected views and sheets. And then you're going to push the select box under here. You're going to deselect views so that it's only showing you sheets to print. Make sure that you have all the sheets that I have shown you on Canvas that you're going to be turning in. You're going to select all of those sheets to print. Say OK. Don't worry about this. You can choose to save settings. You can like set up printing options. I don't ever really bother with that. You're welcome to try to figure that out. It may save you some time, but I don't worry about that. I just say no. And then you're going to come over here to settings. That was over here under settings setup. You want to choose in session from this list as the like printer setup. Now, once you have Adobe PDF selected as your printer, you should have all these paper options. They'll just come automatically. You want to choose ARC E1. That's our traditional paper size for 30 by 42 blueprint drawings. So you'll select ARC E1. You want it centered. You want zoom 100% because we don't want to mess with the scale. We want to leave everything to the correct scale. We don't want to be like changing it when we print it. For whatever reason, when you select zoom 100%, it moves this. So we're going to put it back on center. And then you don't need to change anything else. You don't need to worry about this stuff over here. Don't worry about these appearance. Don't worry about these options at the bottom. All these defaults are fine. You just want to make sure you have in session, ARC E1, center, and zoom 100%. Say OK. Again, if you want to set up saved printer settings, you can. I don't worry about it. I just say no. And then I say OK, print. It's going to ask you one more time, where do you want to save? I'm just going to put this on my desktop for now. So save, and it's going to export all your little PDFs. It looks like it's going to take a minute. Okay, well, maybe we're stuck. I'm gonna open and see if it's what's happening. You should always, yeah, it's not done. You should always open your PDFs before you submit them just to make sure that they printed correctly, because sometimes if you miss a setting, they're gonna print real wonky. You know, it'll only show you like a corner of your sheet or something if you don't select the right paper size or that kind of thing. Okay, let's abort this and try again. File, print, Adobe PDF. My sheets are all selected. Setup, in session, RT1, center, zoom 100. Okay. Okay. Save it as test. Hopefully you all do not get stuck here. I hope it's not gonna give you a hard time exporting. You're welcome to try to print from other PDF sources, but I don't think that that is going to work. I don't think there's going to be a way for you to add other paper sizes, because these are the only options that Microsoft PDF gives you, and obviously none of these are going to be big enough. I don't know what other PDF software there is that you might have. Not sure. I'm also not sure how to unhide my print progress. I hit it and now it's gone. Let's see if we've made any progress. Nope. Not sure how to find my prints. Okay, let's try export to PDF. Let's see if that works any better. Selected view sheets. Got my sheets selected. RT1. Center. Zoom 100%. Export. I don't want to save. I don't want to save my settings. I mean, that may work. Sometimes that doesn't work as well, but we'll see. Looks like it's going. Okay, let's see. I don't think that's the right. No. I should have paid better attention when I said that. That went to my documents. Maybe it didn't go. Maybe it didn't print. Let's put that. Let's be better about saving. Let's put that here. Oh, it's wanting to put them in a folder. I don't want to put them. Hmm. I hope that you all have better luck with this. I'm sorry that this is um, not a great example of how to export. Oh, look, there it went. It finally went. It just took it a while. Okay, so if you're having trouble, I would just wait because these are big chunky files. These are big sheets with lots of information, especially as they get bigger. As in more detail, they're going to be pretty hefty. So I guess it just took a minute. I see that it just now finished. So let me know if you're having problems with that. I will be more than happy to take a look and see if I can help you. Okay, I think that's everything that you need to know for Progress Set 1. There is some more information if you look at the assignment page on Canvas that will explain a little better what I expect you to turn in. And then we'll work from there next week. So let me know if you have any questions. You can reach out to me on Canvas, email, or you can text me. I'll probably see text or Canvas message sooner than I'll see email, but you're welcome to contact me, and I am happy to either Zoom with you in the evening. We can Zoom and look at your screen, share screen and figure something out. Or if you just have a smaller question, I'm happy to email you back via text, email, or Canvas. So let me know if you have questions. Good luck and don't stress. We'll work on it next week.